I was, I didn't scream that much because it was like a truck was hitting me. And I was like, am I really watching what I'm watching right now?
Well, in that case, how about we just open up the episode for everybody? This is the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. And Dan, is a truck hitting you right now? And before I let you get to that part of it, the Eagles are 6-2. And while that seems really exciting, I saw a quote the other day or watched somebody, I think it was Colin Hurd or whatever. And he goes,
Coward,
there's
yeah.
there's only one team that could be winning, yet it doesn't feel good. And, and they're like, yeah, that would be the Eagles. Now, before we got to go and recap this game against the Jaguars. Dougie Peterson was back in. This was a home game. Dan and I were down there. Dan, if I read you these stats right away, just this first one on, obviously total yards, passing yards, you would think this was a really freaking awesome game. The Eagles were blowing them out. The Eagles, 447. They had 210 passing yards, 237 rushing yards. Jaguars, 215. Only 60 rushing yards and 155 passing yards. Now you're like, God damn, this game, what was it? Like, 35, 42-7, maybe 14. But
Yeah.
no, it
Yeah. No
ended
kidding.
up 28-23. Dan, what are your thoughts?
It was one of the most polarizing games I've ever seen, where there was just some outrageous plays, incredible plays that you will probably never see again. And most likely talking about Saquon, but regardless, it just was crazy because you're up 22-6 or whatever, and you're sitting there and you're like, there's some really shitty decisions that were being made, 2-point conversions and fourth down calls and whatever. But then all of a sudden, it's like, if Saquon fumbles the ball, which I think is fucking outrageous. That is not a
We'll get to
goddamn
that.
fumble. But anyway, he fumbles the ball. It's returned for a touchdown. And normally I'd be in the stands screaming, but I'm looking at my son and then I'm looking around me and I'm like, what is happening? This is a joke, right? And it's just like, I couldn't believe what was happening. It was like a free fall.
Dan, it
Eh,
was it was really weird to see this game. First of all, it felt like the Eagles were finally going to blow out, and obviously they're a 2-6 team. So, all right, they were 2-6, too. Yeah, because they didn't have
Yeah,
their bye.
yeah.
So 2-6 team, and like, all right, no offense, let's just beat up on them, and let's go home as a freaking win. Well, the Eagles finally got first quarter points. Now, I don't give a shit about the first quarter stats, how they want to do it, as long as the win's a win and they get in there.
Yeah.
But it looked like they weren't going to, except there was a turnover. Thank goodness that got us a chance to go in there and go for the, what was it, the Saquon touchdown? That was it Saquon or no, or was it Hurts into the
That
thing?
was the passing touchdown to Saquon.
Yeah, exactly. That
Yeah.
was the one that was faded on our side. I remember seeing it and you were thinking about it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we got our first quarter points, though it didn't look like we were actually going to get them. But we're up what, 22-0 or something?
Yeah, with 9 minutes left in the third quarter, we were up 22-0.
So look, here's the stats on this. The Eagles first quarter, we got 7 points. Woohoo! All right, now we can stop talking about that shit in first quarter. All right, second quarter, 9 points. All right, not bad. Third quarter, 6 points. But then all of a sudden, the Jaguars got 16 points in there, and which was crazy ass stuff. We got 6 points in the fourth quarter, and the Jaguars got seventh in the fourth quarter. And thank goodness for Nakobe Dean, just obviously sealing
Mhm.
everything. And was it Nakobe Dean? No, it was Cooper DeJean.
Yeah. No, it was Nakobe Dean.
Oh, it was Nakobe
Interception
Dean.
in the back left corner. Yep.
Too many Deans for me. So listen, first of all, if you're looking at these stats, you see 6, 6, 9, and we're going to talk and break down this game. Dude, I want to just go away. I mean, great. It was great driving home with a win, but listen to the WIP, listen to Nick's press conference. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was weird. Because I think you saw some of the most questionable boneheaded coaching calls I've ever seen. I mean, 2-point conversions, there was one particular that I saw. They were up by 16, and I apologize, I don't remember what the score was. It might have been 16 nothing, but whatever. Um, and he opted for the 2-point conversion, which puts him up by 18. When it, in rational mind, you go up by 17, that's a 3-possession game. So I don't
Yep.
understand what he's trying to get at. And it can't just be him. There's got to be guys that are giving him analytics as to this stuff. But whoever's in that analytics department needs to be fired because it's the stupidest goddamn decisions I've ever seen. And
You got to get a feel for the game. And the game was, you know what? Let's take the 1 point here. And they didn't use Jake Elliott into like the third quarter, fourth quarter for the field goal
right.
that his leg was freaking cold the entire game. Then you
Mhm.
finally used him and he missed it. I mean, it's not a normal for him to do it, but you put all this pressure on him when we could have had like 3, 4 possessions.
Yeah, I mean, let the guy warm up, kick an extra point, kick a field goal. I mean, there were just so many questionable calls. And it's kind of like what we were talking about a few weeks ago before the winning streak, even sometimes in the Cleveland game. It's like, is Sirianni's play calling outshining how good they played or how good they could be? We're supposed to be here talking about the positives when we're actually sitting here talking about just what Sirianni was thinking.
We should be
Seriously.
talking about how great the game was. They're winning and hyping them up. Yet here we are thinking like, what the fuck? We went what, like 0-3 for 2-point conversions or something.
Mhm.
The missed field goal, the whole around. They were what 0-2 for fourth downs, and we'll talk about it more. It just felt like this was really like we should have drove away with this game, and we were leaving so many points on the board. And I heard a comment from one of the callers on the board. We don't have any on the board. We're not leaving shit on there because we didn't get it.
No, I think we did though. I really think sometimes it is, and Lane Johnson alluded to this, and Nick Sirianni will deny it all day, but you know, sometimes you do get a little bit comfortable and you get lax, and I think that's kind of what happened. Not for lack of effort or anything. It's just one thing happens and then it starts to snowball, and then I think it's just you get a little complacent, but I think either way, there's some good things, some bad things to take away as we have. But I mean, we're on a 4-game winning streak. We're taking care of business. It just was a really, really odd game to watch. Really.
Yeah, definitely when you're down there at the link. Okay, let's get to actually one of the highlights of it. Everybody's talking about this around the
Mhm.
league. You and I we actually got to watch this live happening. Saquon's juke, his spin move, and then he does a freaking backwards hurdle. What the hell was that?
So, it's really funny because I watched it live and it was actually done on our sideline. So we had a pretty good, not like we have a bad view regardless, but we had a pretty good close up view. And I watched it and the fans are like all gasping and I'm gasping. And it didn't take until seeing it on the board maybe 2 or 3 times to realize what the hell did I just see? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, great juke, great spin move, and then all of a sudden, a no look backwards hurdle. And the guy wasn't even like bent over, like, like that.
No, he
He
was
was
saying
he was
it was
pretty
like
upright.
7 feet. Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, that was an Olympic hurdle he did, and it was just ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. And heard on the radio, nobody's that might have been one of the best plays I've ever seen since like Barry Sanders. And no offense, Barry Sanders is probably the greatest running back I've ever seen, but Barry Sanders couldn't hurdle that high. I got news for you. It's just crazy. It's laughable how crazy it was. Like whoever thought that they'd wake up in the morning and do a backwards hurdle? It's just insane, and it just goes to show you the guy is just like so freaking talented. And if you're ever going to invest money, I mean, let's look at real quick. Let's look at the landscape of the NFL. There were two big signings, and the big thing in the offseason, all off seasons, is you don't pay an aging running back. You don't pay him, blah, 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 blah. Well, Derrick Henry already rushed for 1,000 yards.
Yep.
He was an aging running back that Baltimore took a chance on. Saquon Barkley, I think he's only 27, 28, but he's got a lot of miles on him, and he's been sometimes injured. The guy is like, I think 50 or 70 yards away from 1,000 yards, and we're only in game 8. I mean, and we're going into game 9. I mean, it's just crazy, and it shows there are investments to be made in the running back room. It's just you have to make the right ones. I mean, there should be like the upper echelon guys that you say, okay, I don't give a shit. I'm going to throw $40 million at you. But then you got the mediocre guys that are like, yeah, I'm not going to overpay. But we definitely landed quite possibly. And, all the episodes I've said might be the best running back. I'm going out there to say on LaShawn McCoy's retirement night, he is the best running back the Eagles have ever had.
Yeah,
Just flat
Jim
out.
Moore's not sleeping too well at night after that.
Yeah.
Barkley's rushing yards, he had 27 attempts for 159 yards. But, okay, so take off of this, and he did get a touchdown off of it. 21 yards was his longest on it. But then on receiving, he had that touchdown in the receiving yards. 4 attempts, 3 yards, or targeted 4 times 3 for 40 yards. All right, so he's up into 30 touches a game. And when we started the season, and he did in Green Bay and Brazil, he had 35, and he declined. Like, they weren't giving the ball enough. And then, obviously there was an altercation with Nick and the fans of run the damn ball. And then they started running the ball. It seems that his production were giving him it a little more. I don't mind the guy having up to 30 touches during the game, including the receiving, because I think he's a great, a quick out receiver who's going to make open no matter what, just like he did in the backwards hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they even lined him up in the slot sometimes, which,
Yep.
he is a receiving threat. I mean, he's an all-over threat. He's a 3-down back. And it's clear he's having the same impact to the Eagles as Christian McCaffrey did for San Francisco. So you can only hope that it, goes down the avenue of getting him to the Super Bowl.
Okay, while we're still on Barkley, was that turnover an actual turnover?
No, I don't.
That was
give a
horrible.
shit.
He was touched by what was it, 53 in the backfield. He didn't do a football move. He was on his way to the ground from being touched down. Everybody stopped. Everybody's like, nah, he was stopped. And the refs were horrible at it. The replay.
So, yeah, and I heard the official explanation from the refs, and it even made me more pissed off. Claiming the guy hit his foot. They acknowledged the guy hit his foot, and they said that it was the fact that he hit the lineman that he started to stumble, not get tackled. Well, if you watch the replay, it was the fact that his foot was hit started the stumble, and then he ran into, and I think it was Dickerson. He ran into Dickerson, and then he fell over. But the stumble was initiated by the guy. So how the hell is that not down by contact? That's just asinine. It's the stupidest thing. And you even had a chance to replay the goddamn thing, and the replay took like 30 seconds, and you already deemed that it was fine. I just, what?
Yeah. We got the review from New York, and no, you mean Vegas called in and they want to keep close on their point spread, because that was ridiculous. I'm telling you, there's no way. And exactly what you said, he got his foot, and he started to fall and stumble into Dickerson, not hit Dickerson and fall. There's a difference in that thing. When he went down, he hit his arms and it popped out. That was definitely not a fumble. If for some reason, you know what? And if it would have came down to it where he got back up when he came down and ran for a touchdown, they would have called it back saying he was down by contact.
Oh, you bet your ass they would have called him back. There's no way. They would have blown the play dead right there, and they would have not allowed the advancement. It's just one of the most questionable calls you can possibly have, and just another case for why AI should be doing the reffing out there.
So we're gonna stick onto the offense a little bit more. Jalen Hurts. Let's look at some of his stats now. Jalen Hurts had 18 for 24, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. And to be honest with you, I was actually okay with Jalen's throw. He has more time in the pocket doing it. It looked to be his throws were on, Saquon, AJ, Smith. They were all seemed to be on. Calcaterra had one in there. We know Johnny Love's touchdown was pulled back, obviously
Mhm.
penalty, and we'll talk about the number of penalties. While I don't want to say that I'm like really impressed with his play, I think it's an improvement overall from the previous games.
Yeah, I agree with that. He has been a game manager. He's been a really good game manager. He showed progression. He's got all-time highs in completion percentage and quarterback rating this year. So he's putting together some nice performances. Did this game provide some eye-popping stats or throws or plays? Maybe not. There was the throw to Devontae in the back of the end zone was fantastic. The throw to Saquon was fantastic. But overall, I left the game saying, okay, he did a nice job. He wasn't the reason that they would lose the game, but he also probably wasn't the reason why they'd run away with the game. But
Yeah.
he played extremely consistently well. And I think the throwing was fine. But the same thing every week that I come away with is he's got to stop holding the goddamn ball.
He holds it too long. He's actually, I think, the longest in the NFL. And
Hmm.
I think one of the biggest things for us to be efficient and quick and methodical down the field is the quick release of the ball. Anything over 2 seconds is you're destined to be sacked, or you've got to scramble to get out of there. And there were some cases where he scrambled and got some yards. And there was some of those where he didn't go as far as we would have liked him. But I agree.
Yeah, and the only reason why he gets away with it is because the Eagles have one of the best pass blocking offensive lines in the league.
Yep.
I mean, I saw that Lane Johnson is the best right tackle when it comes to pass blocking. Jordan Mailata was the highest rated tackle before he went down. We know Landon Nickerson is an all pro. I mean, you're not hearing anything about the right guards, whether it be Steen or Bektai or whatever the hell it is. So that's good. And Jurgens, uh, I mean,
I think
we haven't
Jurgens is doing
complained.
great. He's got a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
foot to fill in this, just to be the guy now this year. I think he's done an
Hmm.
excellent job. Like, you're not seeing
Yeah.
him. He has not snapped it way over Kelsey near the end of his thing. He would get one or two during the game, energetic. And I don't want to put this on any of those. And I think Jurgens is actually stepping up to the plate, filling those shoes.
Yeah, I think he's played consistent, and with offensive linemen, it's better to not hear their game or their name called all game. So, I mean, that's good. He's
Yeah,
played really well.
exactly. Let's talk a little bit about now. You were talking about some of the injuries. I want to talk about AJ. A little concerning that AJ went out. Then the start of the third quarter, he went back into the locker room. Then
Mhm.
we were hearing about the knee. You want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so he went out because of the knee. The fear always, let me just preface this by saying, I think personally, now I have nothing to back it. I feel that they were up 16 to nothing at the time, and they were about to go up 22 to nothing. I honestly feel that they shut him down because they thought they were going to run away with it. But that's just my feeling on it. But regardless, he Sirianni said yesterday that he felt good. He woke up, he felt fine. He had an MRI for precautionary sake, and it's just a contusion. So it's not like we're worrying about tendon damage or ligament damage or anything. So that's good.
Yep.
Um, Listed as day to day, and whether or not they practice him or play him this week, I think is inconsequential, as we'll talk about later, because Dallas is just a dumpster fire. So,
Well, they're garbage, as most people would say. Now, moving on a
mhm.
little bit more, the offense. So we already talked about Hurts. The last thing I actually want to mention on some of the offense, and I'm sure we'll jump back and forth a little bit, is yesterday. I forgot we're recording this 2 days later. The brotherly shove. Okay.
Mhm.
0-2. Have they reached the point where it's no longer effective? Are teams figuring it out, or are we just using it too much and depend upon, and now we need to come up a different way?
Um, I I personally feel that it's not figured out. And I say that because yes, the Jaguars had a good game stopping it, but let's see a team do that consistently because it's been working for 2 years now, and it's been working at a high clip. Um, there's going to be some nuances and things that you need to do because let's face it, Jason Kelsey was the best. He was awesome at it. And whether or not that Jurgens is not doing it right, I don't know. But um, I just think that I don't think it's over. Maybe they are overusing it, but I still think that if I have a 3rd and 1 or I have a 4th and 1, I'm gonna go with it. And I think one of the things that's very interesting and might lead to why they're having issues is back when they were doing the brotherly shove, you know, it was like 3rd and a half yard, 4th and a half yard. They're actually going and doing this play from a yard or a yard and a half, which makes it
Or even
extremely
two
difficult.
out of that? I've seen the 2
Yeah.
yards they've been trying to do that.
Yeah. So I think they just had to rethink their strategy, especially with the fact that you have a bulldozer back there. Saquon can run over people. So feel more confident in the fact that you could get a push with your line and just hand it off to Saquon.
I think with that is that they're also learning, and this is the Eagles, that even Jalen's seen when he's looking straight ahead, they're all lined up ready to go forward, that he's seeing the opening out to the left where he
Mhm.
can actually do the brotherly shove out to the left. Like he's less of a lineman's there, less of the defense to actually stop them where he can squeeze through. The other one that I want to talk about is remember the Hurts touchdown where the ball was in. You clearly saw that on the camera and thing where he pushed in, the
Yes.
ball was down, like he was across the line. You could see the ball. There was another bad ref call, man.
Mhm.
That was pulled back, but we ultimately got it. But it was still just the point that we had to go through that series. Another call by the ref that should not have even taken our time.
Yeah, and I don't understand why there's a question with it. You have technology now that's got a camera that looks exactly down the line,
Actually,
straight down
no.
the line.
That little camera only does so much. Why can't we put the big ass freaking camera straight down the line? No, we're looking at it at a 4 or 5 yard angle and trying to determine it. But yet we're looking at it this way, and if the ball looks over, isn't it over?
Yeah, well, they also had pylon cams, so I'm not sure why they don't use the camera. Because when I watch replay, I've never actually seen a pylon cam be used for that shot down the line. So I don't know why they wouldn't
Why
have that. But
not? Right?
that's a good point. Why not have one of those big cameras down the
How
line
hard is it?
exactly?
To place them on either side, bam, and or they
Hmm.
move back and forth so you can catch it into the end zone. You can catch the replay, hey, instantaneously. They want to invest in all this first down markers automatically and handle that instead of 4th and inches. But regardless, we're always challenging what a touchdown looks like.
Yeah, and in today's technology day and age, this shouldn't be a thing that we're talking about. It should be pretty clear cut. It's kind of like the baseball discussion where you should just have one, in my opinion, you should just allow technology to call balls and strikes. Well, this is kind of the same case where why not allow technology to make the play? And even if you want to have the refs there, just make the right damn call. you know, you got these sky cams, cameras on like wiring and all this shit. Like you said, just put a camera down the line.
Dan, I want to switch over to defense as we're rounding the second half here of our podcast. And there's one player that I want to call out, Zach Bond. This
Hmm.
guy was everywhere. Everywhere in it. What do you got? 10 total tackles, a diving interception. He was all over the place of the game. And no matter where you turned, he came from one end to the other. A freaking awesome steal they got from him
Hmm.
because he has like revived his career here. And he's probably one of the best players that I've seen on defense. Just, you always hear his name being called out.
Yeah, he's consistent. I mean, for a guy that's never played the position, He's very consistent and he's a hell of a player. I mean, this is a guy that you really need to lock up long term. He's a
Yep.
great building block for this defense. And I think, you know what? His play being so good has actually allowed N'Kobe Dean to roam a bit more and
Yep.
become more instinctual. Because when we had Dean in there originally, we kind of had some not so average linebackers opposing him. So he probably felt like he's got to go out there and make a huge impact. But I mean, Vaughn is just a beast. I mean, he's coming off blocks. He looks fast out there. Amazing, amazing pickup. And I was skeptical when they made him the starter. Pretty much since camp because I really never heard of him, and he was a special teamer with the Saints. But I mean, hell of a player. He's turned out to be one of the better free agent signings we have, and he's a pretty young guy, so he could be here for many, many years to come.
Defense has definitely stepped up where we were in the negative for turnovers. We got 2 turnovers this game, one in the first quarter, and obviously the last one that solidified the game finally. As like, heart pounding as it was in the final minute of the game. Overall, defense for me for this game and seeing it, I'm very proud of Vic Fangio and the changes that he's made over the last few games to really bring into this team, and they're on things. I mean, from Quinyon Mitchell, Rogers, Dean, like you just see them everywhere. And I just think we're just going to get better as we go on. We're going to go into week 9 here, and obviously against a crappy team, but still, I want to see them run over them.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with defense as well, and I think I kind of said this in previous episodes, but I think there's no consequence or no what's the word no coincidence that our defense has gotten better since Cooper DeJean has been our corner. Because if you look at this game, Avante Maddox was in one play, and what was that one play? Pass interference on him. The
Yep.
son of a bitch can't cover shit anymore. He's done. And I don't think anybody would ever trade for him, but I seriously would demote him and put, I don't know, Keely Ringo or somebody else as the other
Ringo
slot
was
corner.
good. Quinyon Mitchell was good. Speaking of that, you're talking about another corner. It was Slay. Like we didn't have him again, and I feel
Shucks.
yeah, I
Hmm.
feel like we are in a good position where we don't have him. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I think you should leave him out. To be honest with you, I think the young corners, everybody that's out there, is very good. I mean, except for Maddox.
No, I agree with you 100%, but it'll never happen. He's a
No, because he's
captain,
got a
and it'll
name
create a
behind him. He's not doing it.
exactly.
He hasn't done really. He didn't do really well last year either.
Mm-mm.
He slipped off because he gets those 1 or 2 great stops, and then you're supposed to be like, okay, he's a starter for that. No, I think he's the relief pitcher type. Like all right, bring him in, let the other guy get a breather after that long one, and he
Yeah,
always plays
and
like 10 yards off too.
well, yeah, there's that because he's always afraid to get beaten over the top. But I agree with you. I would personally, if I ran a team, I'd let Rodgers play it out because you still need to figure out what you have in Isaiah Rodgers. Because at the end of this year, I know you have Slay under contract, but I don't think he's going to be the corner of this team for many, many years to come. So
Nope.
I would rather see what you have in Rodgers and see if this is the guy that you're going to sign long term to be opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, because you already have Quinyon Mitchell. He's going to be the corner for you forever. I think with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, even though DeJean plays a slot, I think you really have two solid building blocks going back to like the days of Shepard and Brown, and then you had Vincent and Taylor. You got two really solid corners now, but you need to figure out what you have opposite of that. And I think Rogers can be that guy. He's shown consistency. I mean, he didn't get beat. He wasn't a liability out there. I mean, he looks natural.
Defense, really impressive. Offense, I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean,
Mhm.
I think the only thing that we can bitch about in this game is the coaching and the calling for the extra points and the 2-point conversions. I think if those are, and we can sit here and bitch about them all day. If they actually worked, we wouldn't be bitching about it. But, obviously we're Eagles
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
And if those would have been converted into extra points and we went to the field goal early, the tush push worked. I think if those were all there, this game not only would not have been a runaway. Oh, and the refs, we got to blame the refs for at least two of those play calls. I
Mm-hmm.
I think this game would have been we would be sitting here talking about everything positive of the game, and we wouldn't have anything really much to bitch about.
Yeah, I agree. The coaching decisions have kind of overshadowed the play. I mean, like you said, the defense played really well. They had a few series there at the end when they were a little suspect. And I think it's funny. The defense kind of took on Vic Fangio's personality in the last drive because you could tell he was pissed off because he blitzed every single
Yep.
play. Every play he was blitzing. So you could tell that he was a little pissed off about things. And it's just funny. But
He
yeah,
was
I
like,
think
we should not even be this fucking close. Guys hammered it. We're going to go JJ style here and we're going to blitz every down.
yeah, it seriously was like watching that. But I think the defense has really held up their own. I've been really impressed with them. The offense, since we've gone to a run first offense, has looked really well. It just you'd like to see a little bit more consistency. They had some drives stall out. You just like to see. I mean, when you go back to the Bengals game, they pretty much killed them. Their offense was fantastic. The
Yep.
Giants game, their offense had its moments when it kind of got a little lax, but overall they were great. And this was kind of the same game. Overall it was a good game. They put up a ton of yards, but there were opportunities there where they could have, been a little more consistent and sustained drives a little better.
I think the only thing I got to say with the offense is I would like some inventive play calling. Well, watching the Chiefs last night,
Hmm.
obviously, Mahomes got injured in the leg again, and somehow in the Super Bowl, just like this one, he miraculously came back and his leg's fine. We won't speculate anymore on that, but I saw some of the trick plays, like the fake pass out, the pass like right away, and was really quick, or he went the quick little shuffle, and then he shuffled it this way. I think Kellen Moore, you're doing a great job with the weapons you have. I understand Goddard's not in there, AJ wasn't in, Calcaterra. You had Johnny Love a little couple this series. I would have liked a little more, and I think that's going to get there as Hurts gets comfortable with things.
Yeah, I think the way to look at it is this isn't a finished product. Um,
Right?
the offense is evolving. I mean, you're now seeing, 4 games ago, you saw Hurts under center maybe like 8 times, 10 times. He's under center a lot more now. And I think that's what you're seeing, the constant evolution of things. And I think that it took a little bit of buy in probably from Hurts, just because he does seem a little bullheaded, but he wants to win. So, you know, who cares as long as he listens in the end. Um, but basically, I think it's going to be an ever evolving thing. But I think you're going to see this team stay as a run first team, which I think is only going to pay dividends when it gets colder and when the season, nears its end, because at that point, the defense is dealing with injuries. You're hurt a little bit more. And I'm telling you, you're not going to want to tackle Saquon Barkley in the open field when it's snowing out. That shit's
When
just
it's
going to
like
hurt.
sub-zero, that shit's
Yeah, it's
gonna
going to
hurt.
hurt.
All right, Dan. Overall, the Eagles have done excellent for the game. Considering some of the things in there, they are playing Dallas this Sunday, 4:25, and then right afterwards, they actually have a Thursday night game against the Commanders or the Redskins, however you want to call them.
Mm.
They will, and that is a home game for it. Dan, let's talk about Dallas real quick. I mean, I don't think there's really much to talk about. Dak's out for a week. CD's, hurt as well. Cooper Rush is in. What's Dallas like? 3-5, 3-5, something like that. Oh, they just had the bye.
Yes.
Yep,
No, they're 3-5. Yeah.
3-5. So, while you used to be concerned with Dallas, no Dallas concerns, no Giants concerns, though the Commanders look to be really going to be a good game on Thursday. But Dallas, thoughts?
Yeah, this is a game kind of like what the Jaguars were, where you just need to go down there and you need to take care of business. You are heavily favored, and I haven't looked at the line yet, but I'd imagine that they're heavily favored. Um, and this is a game that the only way you're going to lose this game is if you go out there and you make simple mistakes or stupid mistakes. You Dallas will not, they do not have the personnel to win this game from you. You have to give them this game.
Yep.
So it's really, they just have to go out, play their game, be consistent, and they should easily come away with a win.
I agree with you. Cooper Rush, though, is a really good quarterback. We've seen him against the Eagles before when Dak was out, and he's done really well. That's when he's had the weapons. This past game, Zeke Elliott was not suspended. What are they like? He did not. He's not participating in the game because he was
Yeah.
detrimental to the team. Something of a. He missed a lot of team meetings. This is his first season back with them after a stint with the Patriots, and I think he's just a diva.
Yeah, the team really is just, it's
Falling
falling
apart.
apart. Yeah.
Even Parsons too. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
they're losing. Jerry Jones is gonna yeah. He's just not gonna I know you got that. All right, before we wrap it up, let's go around the NFC. Dan, you want to bring us around?
Yeah, I mean the Lions still look great. They dismantled the Packers. They're just a good team. They're not built like one of those dome teams that you have to go out there and pass the ball 40 times. They're built from an aspect of they will run the ball on you, kind of like what the Eagles have. They're going to run the ball on you, and they're going to be a smash mouth team. I think they're a really good team. They're going to be a hard out. Um, and they are easily the class of the NFC right now, at least, barring injuries and stuff like that. Otherwise, you got kind of a log jam at number two. I think the Eagles are up there as the second best in the NFC. I mean, you got teams like San Francisco. I think they they might win the division. I don't know.
What
Arizona's
about the
leading that
Falcons,
division right
man?
now.
I don't know.
Falcons are
Cousins is.
Falcons
I'm
are a
not a big fan of him.
no Falcons are a good little team. And I
A
say
good
little
little team.
because
Good little
because
boy.
yeah, well, it's a feel good story,
Yeah,
but
right.
but I think you get Kirk Cousins in prime time and he just crumbles. But
Well,
I
they're
think
6-3. The Lions are 7-1, which I have to tell you, I like Dan Campbell, so we're there. Commanders are
mm,
7-2. Eagles are right and knocking on the back door. Obviously, Dallas 3-5. Giants, we won't even say what they're not. Yeah.
hmm,
Looking at the NFC West, we got the Cardinals at 5-4. And then the rest of the division is 4-4-4. I mean, Rams, 49ers. I don't know. Cardinals and Rams. Yeah, they're like one game behind. Other than that, I mean, the North is looking very, except for the Bears. The Vikings are 6-2. Green Bay's 6-3.
mhm. Yeah, I think you're going to see at least two teams come out of the North, maybe even three teams. Who knows? Um, and the other wild card you probably will see either be Washington or Philly as long as things stay the same. Um, I I just have a hard time taking the Falcons like a serious contender. I know. We played them, blah 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 blah, but I just that was like a lifetime ago with the
Yeah, we were a
Eagles.
different team.
Yeah. And I can't take a team out of the South seriously because you got the Saints who have imploded without Derek Carr. You've got the Panthers who are pretty much they couldn't beat Appalachian State at this point. And you got um who else? You got the Falcons, and I think the Falcons are the class of
Well, you
division
got the
easily.
Bucks and that.
You got the Bucks, but the Bucks are like they're a
Now wait a
hospital
second.
unit right now.
Wait a second. I gotta give props to Baker Mayfield last night. I watched the entire game again, and I was rooting for him. Actually, I was rooting for Mahomes for my fantasy, but I was rooting for the Chiefs not to win. But for him to come down in the 2 minutes and the touchdown, the poor decision not to go for the 2-point conversion. Yet we just bitched about the Eagles going for it all the time, but at this point, he had to take the coin toss and the possibility of Mahomes getting it back. And as soon as Mahomes got it back, he took the clock out. It was down to like 3 minutes left, and they got the touchdown. He gave them a
Yeah.
chance. Baker had no time to actually get on the field to show what he could do. So anyway, I had to digress on a little bit more. I'm rooting for the Chiefs to, lose.
Yeah, I like the Bucks, but I just think that they're too injury riddled at this point.
They had
I
no receivers. Nobody. Everybody was
Mhm.
out. Yet I'll tell you what, everybody stepped up for Baker.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, ex-Giant, he
Dude,
stepped up.
he had an awesome game.
Mhm. Yeah, he looked fast out there. I mean, that's the best I've seen him ever look. And
From
their
coming
tight
from the
end is pretty
Giants.
good. Yeah, well, everybody looks better when they go away from the Giants.
I mean, seriously. All
Mhm.
right, Dan, it's Tuesday. It's 11:05. It is election day. Get out there and vote. By the time this gets out there, we'll know who won. Yes. We won't say that on the show because, people don't like politics. But talking about it, free agency also ends today. Do you see any big moves?
Well, the trade deadline's today. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I don't think they're going to make any big moves. I mean, we saw reports of Bryce Huff maybe being on the trade block, but I don't think anyone will take on that contract.
That was a bad decision.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
for as good as we've applauded Howie and his moves, this one was a poor decision. And
Howie's
I
allowed
think,
to make some bad or poor decisions. We had Chip Kelly, so.
yeah, it's funny. Okay, it's funny you bring that up because they had the LaShawn McCoy thing at halftime, and he was thanking everyone, who he played for. And I just sat back and I looked around people at our section. I said, "Where's the thanks to Chip Kelly? Chip Kelly got rid of his ass, so
Yep.
where's the thanks to him?" But
Along
anyway,
with
I digress.
Deshaun.
Yeah, I digress with that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I don't think they're going to make any significant moves. I think maybe they'll get another pass rusher, but I don't think it's going to be like an impact player. I've been banging the drum for Max Crosby, but I don't think that
Oh,
the Raiders are going to sell on him.
didn't he say, do you think I got this tattoo? Do you think I'm going anywhere?
Yeah, well, he'll go wherever the money and the wins come on.
I would take him. He's very passionate. Some people
Mm-hmm.
call him a dirty player, but he actually plays very clean and very passionate.
Yeah, I'd give up a first round pick for him easy. I think he'd be a good player.
Yeah, do we
But
have any left at this point?
yeah, we probably do. I mean, Howie will probably be able to swing it for like a fourth round pick.
Exactly. All right, everybody, we got to wrap up this series. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what, Dan?
We're out of here.